Another Tuesday evening is here with us again on the Big Bulletin. Good evening and welcome to Asaase Business PM with me, Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe, and my co-host,
Rosemary Balami.
Rosemary was missing in action last week, and she's here tonight. She'll be telling us where she went and what she did. Tonight on SDG-Hub, we'll be discussing the topic renewable energy. Is Ghana prepared for the transition? Our guests tonight are Enoch Yeboah Agyepong, Director and Co-founder, Renewable Energy Association of Ghana, and Engineer Marina Dede K Agortimevor, International Climate and Energy Consultant. Business PM is proudly brought to you in partnership with the Center for Sustainable Transformation. And thank you very much for staying with us tonight. This is the SDG Hub, where we discuss challenges and opportunities both in practice and business to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs as we call them. These are 17 goals and 169 targets developed and agreed on by the UN member states, including Ghana, to make the world a more just, equitable, greener, and peaceful place. I'm your host, Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe, and I'll be doing this with my co-host, Rosemary Balami, from the Young Reporters for the Environment, YRE, at the Center for Sustainable Transformation. Last week, we discussed Ghana's electronic waste journey and changes that have been made so far at the infamous Agbogbloshie, once referred to as the world's e-waste dumping site. In case you missed it, you can also find these videos on our Facebook page. This week, we'll talk about one of the basic issues of life, energy. Sustainable energy for that matter. As we all know, energy is at the heart of everything we do, from powering our homes and businesses to driving economic growth and development. But how we generate that energy is becoming increasingly important as we face the urgent challenges of climate change and work towards achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goal 7, that is to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. In this episode, we'll touch on SDG Target 7 Session 2, which concerns renewable energy and the need to ensure our quest as a country to increase renewable energy generation in our energy mix while strengthening climate resilience in accordance with our national climate commitments. We hear from the experts on Ghana's position, preparation, and readiness in the renewable energy transition.
That is right, Emmanuel. Ghana has actually set a goal of having 10% renewable generation by 2030. However, currently Ghana's generation mix is near 40% hydrocarbon, 39% hydro, and 0.5% solar. For a country which is endowed with abundant renewable energy potential such as solar, wind, biomass, wave, and tidal energy, can a complete transition to renewable and clean energy be possible? Our conversation today will explore a broader perspective and possible approaches for Ghana in renewable energy.
And to speak to us on these issues are Enoch Yeboah, Director and Co-founder, Renewable Energy Association of Ghana, and Engineer Marina Dede K Agortimevor, International Climate and Energy Consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to our studios and, of course, to SDG Hub.
Thank you very much.
I hope I got the name right.
Yes, you got the name right. Thank you.
Well, so could you tell us a bit about what you do, at your various places of work? I'll start with you first, Engineer.
Thank you very much for the time. So my name is Marina Dede K Agortimevor, like you spoke about. I'm actually a professional electrical and electronics engineer. Okay. And I actually am into the climate and energy space. And what I do is do anything linked to climate and energy topics, advocacy, projects, and all of that. But I actually am more into renewable energy advocacy. So I double also as a technical advisor of an international development organization.
Okay.
Most people know them, GIZ. And I'm there to advise on the projects linked to renewable energy as well.
Right.
So my whole life, or all I do is linked to renewable energy.
Of course.
Yes,
all right, that's impressive.
Yes.
And what about you, Enoch?
Right, I'm a mechanical engineer by training as well, and development consultant, particularly focused on sustainability. In 2010-11, when I had studied in Denmark, my love for sustainability grew notches higher, because at the end of the day, when we were moving from the Millennium Development Goals, if you remember,
the
SDGs, that was the period in which a lot of things were happening. And in that environment and in all the things I had done in the past, it's been very critical to focus on the different sectors. So I've had stints with even the oil and gas industry. I've had stints with the transport industry. But currently, I've been focused more on pushing the renewable energy and efficiency a lot more, being a consultant in the sector, and also having co-founded the Renewable Energy Association of Ghana and working with different partners. So, for example, Marina and I have been on different projects working on things together. So, it's a nice environment. Yes.
Very good. Good to have you all here once again.
Thank you.
So, Marina, let me start with you. What is the current status of Ghana's energy mix, and what are the main sources of energy production?
So, when we talk about Ghana's energy mix, I will just use some that we already know with hydropower. We have some from natural gases, and then now we are also getting solar into renewable energy into the mix. Ghana actually has a plan, like she spoke about already, to have about 10% of our energy mix being renewable energy. However, we are wondering how we are going to get there. Let me use that. But so far, we've been able to have very good access in terms of the number of people that have been able to have access to energy, which is good for a country. But when it comes to, I think the next topic that we're going to talk about, which is the energy transition, that's when we realize that there's a need for that. Because already, we do have a big energy mix. I think Enoch will add more to it, but the hydropower with the oil and gas, the natural gases and other things, but we do need a renewable energy in our energy mix, and that is what I actually stand for.
And why is it that we have plenty of solar energy here, but we're still struggling and looking at other sources of energy within the mix?
Plenty of solar or plenty of
sunshine. Sunshine, of course, it gives solar energy.
Right. It's always scorching.
Right. So you just said what we've been talking about all along and what we've been fighting for all along. Because we have solar, we have sunshine here. Even the countries that do not even have sunshine are actually getting solar. So we even have access to that energy easily. But we are fighting for other things, mainly because we want to actually industrialize, let me use that word. That's what most of our leaders actually talk about, and which I get them to a point. Because we really feel like at our point in time, we need to also find a way of making money from the resources that we have, even though they might cause about emission and pollution in the environment. We also want to industrialize before we even focus on solar. But this is something that is at our disposal, so why are we not harnessing it? So this is what I would say, that we need to actually focus on this. And there are so many other advantages when it comes to solar, which we can also talk about when we're going on, which is the reason why we need to actually focus on that direction as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, let me come back to Enoch.
Right.
Now, so many stakeholders are still deliberating on the fact that we shouldn't quickly leapfrog into energy transition, because the West have created the most wastes, and Africans are being forced to abandon our oil and gas, exploitation to go into energy transition. Now, I just want to know your thoughts about that. And also, we have seen an increase in access to energy in Ghana in recent years. For instance, the days of regular dumso are no more. Now, if Ghana is at a place where energy is being supplied to its people, why is a transition to renewable sources of energy important?
Okay, so with the first part, you see, the thing is, I usually say, why compare yourselves with others? I mean, we are Ghanaians. We know what we are in. We know what our challenges are. So I don't think it's so much of a comparison with the fact that the West have developed in certain ways, so we should do the same, right? By this, I mean, if you to pick an example and say, back in the days where the whole issue of slave masters and trade, etc. happened, then why don't we also go back and say, because they use slaves to develop their countries, we also want to use slaves to develop our countries? It doesn't work. Okay. I'm thinking that we should just be on our own path, think of what we need to do and do it. And I think we are justified even in the sense that, for example, countries that earlier decided that we're not going to do nuclear, we're not going to do coal, we're not going to do this, have sort of now gone back to the same old technologies in the wake of the Ukraine-Russian war, right? But the thing is, if you consider the kind of abundance of resources we have here, I think we should just focus on utilizing what we have to make good for ourselves what we can do for ourselves, which we are not doing. So
but utilizing what we have, we also have abundant, hydrocarbon
So the point is, yes, you can't necessarily jump and forget about the hydrocarbon resources. Okay. You need to utilize those ones to an extent, but whilst doing it, do it in line with other things. It's like you are eating, you have your bunker, you have this. Manage it, okay? So I think that Ghanaians, or Ghana as it is, should be interested in focusing a lot more. And I give you this example. We've had gold, cocoa, for a long time.
Yeah.
We haven't derived benefits from it as we should have, because sometimes our negotiations or how we trade with our partners are not done right.
favored us.
Exactly. It's not so much that is not favored us because maybe the people decided to cheat us, but it's because maybe we also went in with wrong negotiations.
Exactly.
Our bargaining was not right. So in that sense, if you just juxtapose that on the energy sector, like you said, yes, let's go with more renewable, right? We talked about rooftop. We can do a lot of roofs that have solar panels, and you don't necessarily need the batteries, so that during the evening, when perhaps you need to tap into the grid, then you just go ahead and then do the connection. There's so much that can be done, but we are not doing it. And I recall that, for example, the Energy Commission a while back in the Ministry of Energy did a program that was the solar rooftop project, and we're trying to get solar on a lot of roofs. But what happened was, well, people, maybe didn't understand it, people were not paying for their component, etc. So all those hitches were in there. So I think that, yes, we can move on our pathway as we should. The second one, which has to do with
whether it's important.
Yes, whether it's important. I think that it absolutely is important, because the technologies that Marina was mentioning, if you even look at other ones like waste to energy, right? You should be thinking, how do we convert our forest waste, into things that would give us much more energy? I think in 2010, 11 or 12, countries like Sweden had actually been importing waste because they had run out of waste.
Yes.
They needed to generate electricity out of that. So I think that we have a lot of things we can do and to move in there. But just to finalize one point here, you mentioned the different stakeholders. So I read something out from the energy transition, where we're saying that the Ministry of Energy, in collaboration with other sector ministries, and listen, there's transport, there's environment, science and innovation, finance, lands and forestry, water and sanitation, they have produced this framework we're working on. So everybody thinks it's important, right? Meaning, I think we've come to the point where we realize that there's something worth doing, but I think the will to do it and how to do it is what we should push on further.
So, Enoch, do you think these sources are being explored at scale? What technological innovations and advancements are being made in the renewable energy sector that could benefit Ghana's energy industry?
It's not being explored at scale as it should be. Today, I wear this pin, which is from the Clean Cooking Alliance, in solidarity of clean cooking, that is even supposed to move from just the traditional, what you know as clay, the japa and stuff like that, to more electricity cooking. Because in the hard-to-reach communities, when you have given them electricity, then lift them out of poverty by giving them the possibility of having these, right? So I think that, honestly, we haven't leveraged enough on the scale on the technologies, and we should be the ones even dictating the pace when it comes to adaptation or seeing how the technologies work here. It's being done in India.
Wow.
They're doing it. Kenya, they're doing it. Why are we not doing it?
Yeah, that's true.
Right, Marina. And so let's talk about the renewable energy goal, the targets, 10% in Ghana. Now, do you think these targets of renewable energy is realistic and achievable, taking into account the status quo of the energy industry now?
Yeah, I think it's very achievable. Like, we've already even mentioned the fact that the sunshine is just available to us. It's just about putting the things that we need to put in place for us to achieve it. And if you look at 10%, it's even small. It's just because, let's say, we've been able to have this access to energy to almost 90% or, let me say, of the population of Ghana. So with regards to that, we are trying to focus, the government is trying to focus more on people that have no access to energy at this point in time, and also those who are into industries and stuff. But if we look at the industries alone, then the 10% has already been reached if we are able to give renewable energy to most industries. Then what about the households and when it comes to population, it grows every time. So that means the 10% that we are even putting there is very, very small. And it's something that is really, really achievable. If we put our mind to it to do it, then we can actually achieve it.
And so in Ghana, what are the major sources of energy that we have? I mean, renewable energy, of course, that we have.
I will talk about first solar. We have solar, which everyone knows about. Wind energy. We talk about waste to energy that Enoch spoke about, which is actually also at our disposal. There are lots of technologies when it comes to waste to energy. And then when it comes to...
it's the same as biomass.
There's biomass. There's biomass, but there's also another one that is different from biomass, which is also a different waste to energy. And then when it comes to energy, we have like the stoves that he's spoken about. We have even briquettes. We can actually bring about briquettes. We have cook stoves that are actually friendly to the environment. So it's actually a bigger picture. I think sometimes we even narrow it to even one picture. But when it comes to things that we can actually go into when it comes to renewable energy, it's a bigger picture for us.
And do you
have
really
more to do.
think that we've harnessed these renewable energy sources appropriately in our favor?
Honestly,
because we've been paying lip service over the years.
We haven't. Unfortunately, we haven't. And that is why we need to wake up and focus on that in the energy transition. Because you see, when it comes to energy transition, it's a process. So even if you want to still go and industrialize and focus on other sources of energy that will pollute the environment, you should focus on what is going to be the solution. We've learned from the whites that, let me say, or the foreign world that they harness some source of energy and that's polluted the environment. So do we want to do the same thing, or we want to actually solve a problem? So if you're going to solve a problem, then we should bring the solution also on board, and which is renewable energy in this case. So we are having an energy mix and a transition where we are focusing on renewable energy, as we are even trying to even still have those ones in the system that we are using, right? So we need to know where we are going to before we change from using charcoal to gas and everything. It was a process. Up to now, people are still using charcoal, right? Yeah. So that is how it is. It takes a process. It's a process. So we need to make sure that we intentionally make sure that renewable energy is in the mix. That is what I was talking about.
In the past, these COPs, the various COPs, climate change conferences, they've made promises that then they've failed.
Yes.
Do you think that we should, by our own selves, look for opportunities, financial opportunities to establish ourselves in renewable energy, or still wait for them, begging hands to bring the money?
That's a really, really good point. Actually, I was at the last COP last year.
Okay.
And
that's
this was our biggest, Sharm Sheikh. And this was our biggest problem because a lot of promises, a lot of agreements, but there was no implementation. We're supposed to be giving money. We're supposed to be help in financing and everything. And that is our problem in Ghana, financing these projects that we want to finance. So I believe that we should still push for they to actually give us, the word is gone, but don't worry. That's basically climate kind of debt. They owe us this because they have actually polluted the environment more than we can even imagine. Like our percentage is very low. So if they are able to do that, then it can actually help us to have that funding. But we also have to try on our side to see what we can also do as a country and as a continent in Africa to actually finance such projects.
So we were talking about harnessing these sources. Okay. So what do you think are the main challenges that is holding Ghana back from transitioning to renewable energy?
So I think we've all spoken about the one everyone knows about financing, money. I think it's the truth. It's something because when this is a new technology, and this is a technology that we need to be able to get it, we need to have money for it. Yeah. And then when we have money, we can be able to have this in place, right? Now, financing is there, but we also have technological access to the technology. Okay. Right now, some of these things that we need, inverters, panels, even biogas, the things that we will need to be able to actually implement these projects are not in this country. So we need access to them. How do we get access to them? And with that also comes the policy. Mm-hmm. The policies that we are putting in place should actually favor these innovations. Because unfortunately, I can't bring in a panel. At first, they used to give them the tax on it, or they had a tax exemption, but now it's back. So the prices are really increasing. So then how are we actually helping to make sure that renewable energy is into the mix? So the policies that we put in place should actually favor these innovations that we want to bring in place. And lastly, when we talk about the technologies I spoke about, then it comes to technological know-how training. We need to train our people to be able to use this equipment and things that will come in, to be able to actually do these projects on our own. Because we can't continuously rely on other people to do the projects for us. We need to give jobs to our people in the country. So if we train them, then they can actually take off this project.
Right. Now, Enoch, what are the environmental and social benefits of the transitioning process into renewables? And are there opportunities for job creation and local economic development in the sector?
Oh, as for the jobs, plenty. There are plenty jobs.
Where are they?
There are plenty jobs. I mean, if you're talking about getting men and women, right, into who already have the IT skills, to be able to do programming, smart home systems, etc., etc. It's all there. It's all in the mix, right? If you're talking about artisans being able to sort of do the repairs or doing the frameworks, the frames that the panels will sit on, etc. It's all there. But just like Marina said, if we rather have an environment that allows for these creative innovation to be harnessed, we'll have it more. And I give you this example of when we had COVID. All of a sudden now we found out that people can manufacture Veronica buckets that you step on and it gives you water. What happened?
That's a good innovation.
Exactly. It came in that.
It gave jobs.
Exactly.
Jobs.
Right? But in the same vein, if we rather would then stimulate the environment and allow for that creation to happen, it will come in. But whilst I've answered this question, I just want to tag a little bit into a point that Marina raised, which had to do with the technologies. I realized that almost all the time, because it's a mainstream and we know it, we don't mention it, Hydro is one of the technologies, right? It's a huge renewable energy technology. That's what we have. Bui Dam, Akosombo Dam, right? Those are there. However, they are the mini versions of it that can also be done in different areas. So the mini hydro and things like that can be done in various places. But another thing also is energy efficiency. saving energy before you even utilize it. And another example, you remember when, I think, was it the World Cup 2004 or whatever it is, that the Energy Commission, pleaded with people, turn off your fridges, etc. People did turn it off, and we saved energy. People watch football. So it's the same thing. If you want to harness more renewable energy technologies, then try and balance it also with having, like I see here, big windows, allows light in during the day, and stuff like you can save on energy. So yes, those are things that we can work on. More jobs are available, consultancies as well. Yes, and I think that's another missing area where you'd have people do the engineering properly, do the service and the maintenance properly. It's not like we are going to use robots only to clean solar panels. No, right? You need the human beings to also be able to do it and fixing things and stuff like that. It's all there for us to do. Lots of jobs.
Well, let me come to you, Marina. I know that in Sharm el-Sheikh, our president outlawed the National Energy Plan. Yes. And our targets as a country, I think it's 2070 to fully transition. And people are wondering even if that's achievable because we don't have what it takes. I mean, that's the argument.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the pragmatic steps that Ghana should take in transitioning into renewable energy, maybe beyond what is involved in the plan?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. So I spoke about policy already, and it's one of the main things that drives this whole process.
Okay.
When it comes to policies, with regards to just climate, renewable energy in Ghana, we have so many documents going all around, from Energy Commission, from Ministry of Energy, from one place and the other, lands, forest, because it's a whole big picture, right? Yeah. But we need to find that interlining thing between all these policies to work together and have a framework that's going to make these policies actually be implemented. Because now the policies are being developed, but they're not being implemented. If I talk about one of the things, for instance, we have something called net metering. I don't even know, it's not that we're trying to even get it to work. If net metering was in place, then solar systems can actually be
factored into the tariff setting.
Exactly. And it can help people in terms of solar. If I have solar in my house, I can even be selling to the grid. There are a lot of really good things about it. It actually makes solar become something very, very interesting and
simple.
People, but unfortunately, that has not been put in. And now we are hoping, from what we are hearing, now we've been hearing this, but we are hearing that this year it will finally be implemented. And I've seen some few net metering meters coming into it. So, you can't have just a policy there and it's not implemented. Who is going to implement it? So let's set the structures there. Let's have people that are going to be the framework, draw a framework and make sure that the policies are implemented. Just like, let's say they are like police or law people to make sure that whatever we've said we are going to do, we will do it. It's not just a paperwork or something that we have. 2070 is long, but let's see.
I know. Now, when we're talking about transitioning, one of the major aspects is also the EVs, electric vehicles. Yeah. Now, people are setting deadlines, I think Norway or England 2025 or so. But do we have what it takes at 2070 to transition? Because we don't have the charging hubs around. And people are wondering if it's really...
No, don't worry, it's coming. It's actually there. There are some EV ports that are not in the pipeline. There are some. And see, this is where, honestly, if I was to answer the question directly, whether Ghana is ready, I'll say yes, we've been ready a long time. But it's just the fact that we should push and push and push better. That would help us move, because back in the day when, that's why I mentioned hydro, when not many people knew, we had gone in that direction. We didn't do nuclear, we didn't do, coal. We did those. So we need to push a bit more in that stead. EVs are there. It's currently started. There are different companies that are doing a lot, and I commend.
I saw one car last night, and it was recently behind it.
Yes, exactly. I personally very much applaud the Energy Commission for taking that drive and that lead. They've been doing a lot in that space. So, like you said, the policies are there, the regulations are there, but we just need to harmonize it in one way or the other, and then actually do what we say we would, because we're supposed to set up an energy fund. We've not set that up as per the renewable energy law.
Exactly.
We've not set up the energy authority, renewable energy authority. It's not been done, right? So those are key things that practically should also happen. But just on the net metering, because I sit on the governance council, I need to speak about it. Otherwise, the Ministry of Energy, the Swiss government, the AFDB and others are doing a lot of things in trying to push the net metering. I would say yes.
Also recently just
joined in. Yes, it's happening, right? But what we should note is that it's not for commercial value.
Exactly.
It's not like you're selling to the grid and expecting money back. No, it's just going to be netted off, right? So
we don't have much time. It's interesting, but I'll certainly invite you. We have an energy program that I host. I'll bring you on board so we can have a lengthy competition. But finally, before we go, both of you in 30 seconds, what do you think about, doing it side by side? Oil and gas, assets are in the seabed, we fear stranded assets, and also we want to do energy transition. How do we balance the two?
It works both ways, because the assets you have for the gas infrastructure, which technically is also considered a bit clean, right, needs to be utilized. And we did the investment a while back. It just needs to be done. We just must be focused. So then we can transition the vehicles, like you're saying, to gas vehicles, as an example.
So we can do a perfect integration.
We can do.
Okay, Marina.
So I think if we want to do the gas, then let's make sure that it's friendly to the environment. However we are going to do it, should be friendly to the environment, right?
Let's
and then I think if you're going for that, but no matter what, make sure that renewable energy is actually integrated into the mix. So as you are focusing on that, focus on renewable energy as well, because it's a transition, it's a process. So it's not just a one-time thing. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights on this conversation. Now, if you're a listener between the ages of 11 and 25 and get inspired to write, make a video, or take photographs of issues relating to environmental problems and solutions, or if you know someone who does, the YRE has its annual competition out now. Visit our website at cestint.com/YRE competition for further details. Grab this opportunity to give the environment a voice. Who knows, you could be our next lucky winner. So tune in, same time next week as we continue discussions on all things sustainable development right here on Asaase Radio 99.5 as we build a better future for people and planet.
And so thank you so much for staying with us on the SDG-Hub. We've been speaking with Enoch Yeboah, Director and co-founder of Renewable Energy Association of Ghana, and engineer Marina Dede K Agortimevor, International Climate and Energy Consultant. I've been your host, Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe, and I did this with
Rosemary Balami.
We go back to J-Man.